Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Thank you once again for joining me. So, you guys know what time it is. You know, I am, after all, the tournament guy. And who would I be without my tournaments? So, I've been talking about doing a manager tournament for several weeks now. And I finally decided to dive in and knock that tournament out. So I still do have two more figures that are going to be part of this tournament due in. So that should probably arrive within the next day or two. And once I add in those two figures, I'll have 38 characters, 38 figures to participate in this tournament. So at 38 figures, you're not looking at a long tournament at all. Now, I'm going to try my best to keep it around 20 minutes for these tournaments. There's really not a whole lot I could say with the managers. And after round one, everything starts becoming redundant anyways. So I'm going to try and make these videos go by as quickly as I possibly can. But you know how I like to talk. And once you get into later rounds, it's really difficult to make a choice. But I think that this is going to be a really fun tournament to not only be able to make, but kind of show off the different figures for you guys as well. You know, one of the greatest, highlights is being able to give shout outs to people, right? And kind of, these figures, they don't do anything for me if they just sit in my home. I've kind of built this museum of collections here, and I think the important thing is to be able to show off the artistry of these different figures. I've said it before, people, they've got, fruit bowls and flowers, as decoration, paintings hanging up on their wall. These figures in this room is my artwork, so, I always like to, give credit where credit is due, and there's just so many fantastic figures in this lot. So, per usual, we are going to mix in both original figures with customs. They could be resin figures. They could be rubber figures. I think all my managers are rubber. I don't think there's any resin, but I could be wrong about that. So, in order to make this tournament, even bigger, I could basically look at it and be like, hey, you know what? Ted DiBiase was a manager. Let's throw him in there. Mr. Perfect was a manager. Why not? Bob Backlund, let's get him in there. So I could technically take these different characters and throw them into this tournament, but I kind of feel like that's unfair because the figures that have already been created are based on the character as a wrestler. So this tournament is going to feature your regular managers. It's also going to include commentary, analysts. It's going to include your executives, and it's going to include your referees. Why? Because it says manager on the box. So, you know what? We're all of those guys are going to be in there, and it's going to be really fun. Oh, the one figure that's due in, one of the two figures are due in. It's going to be a special entrant. It's going to kind of be like, think of it as seeing Mr. T in WrestleMania 1 type of deal. No, you're not going to see Mr. T in this, but you are going to have a celebrity entrant in this video. But it's okay because even though he's not a wrestler, he has made appearances in the World Wrestling Federation in the past. So I think that's going to be really fun to see. Does he win the tournament? Probably not, but I just think it's just a fun character, and I'm sure you guys are going to get a laugh out of it when it comes in. So, just based on my previous tournaments, we're going to go work the same way. It's going to be a blind drawing. So I wrote down all the names of all the figures, and I put them in a hat. We're going to select them together. Let's do 5 matchups. Let's see how long 5 matchups takes us. And if the video exceeds 35 minutes, then we'll probably cut it down to 4 matchups in later videos. Alright, so let's see who the first contestant is going to be. And this is going to feature the orange Jimmy Hart as he does battle against pink shirt referee. Already right off the bat, it's a difficult choice. Next one is going to feature Elizabeth with black skirt as she does battle against the red Freddy Blassie. Next battle is going to feature Jimmy Hart. Now that's going to be a Jimmy Hart regular, And because he's got 3 of them, I'm not going to sit there and pull all 3 of those Jimmy Hart variants. I'm going to choose just one, most likely the one with all the hearts on it. And he's going to square off against Brother Love. Next battle is going to feature Elizabeth in yellow as she does battle against Paul Bear. Oh man, that's oof. Man, who knew managers would be so difficult? Because already kind of looking at this, I have no idea where I'm going to go with this. Last matchup is going to feature Jimmy Hart in black as he squares off against Mean Gene. And this says alternate black. Okay, I know which one that is. Alright, so I am going to pull these figures and I will be back in a split second. Alright everybody, so the names have been, or the figures have been pulled, and let's get started. Alright, so first one we said was Jimmy Hart in orange as he squared off against Pink Shirt Referee. Now right off the bat, this battle is sucks because these are both solid figures. This is your matchup. Pink Shirt Referee versus... And you know, when you look at like original San Francisco toy makers, you know how they keep realizing the same characters over and over again. I actually like this because I got a couple of different variants of the Nasty Boys, and this one was from Harvey on Mercari, and I didn't put down his contact information in the last video. I should have done that, but look at, you got Brian Knobs here, you got Jerry Sags. They even colored in the faces of the characters. That is fantastic. So, awesome paint job. I mean, for the most part, the little confetti or whatever it is on here is, you know, so-and-so. Nothing flashy. What I'm crazy about is, like I said, the fact that they're able to color in the faces. I don't know if that's like, I don't know, is that like a stencil or something that they use to do that, or I'm not sure. But either way, it looks fantastic, and I actually like that. And you know, they keep the color scheme going along with the megaphone. So you guys already know, Jimmy Hart, among the managers from LJN, is already one of my favorite pieces. The fact that he comes with a built-in accessory doesn't hurt. It'd be nice if it would be removable, but there's certain times when, you know, I've talked about certain figures like Hasbro Undertaker, where it's nice to have that built-on hat and whatnot, you know, stuff like that, because, you know, as kids, we're constantly losing accessories, and I feel like any kid that would have had this would have actually lost it. And, you know, kid or adult, it doesn't matter. I kind of feel like this is a very playable action figure, and you know what? If I were a kid having LJNs, you best believe this man would get a lot of play during my matchups. He wouldn't be a manager, he would be an actual wrestler. And the referee. I feel like among the 3 different referee color schemes, the pink shirt is my favorite version, and this one comes from Random Treasures. The referee, a very generic piece. A lot of people, I've talked about it before, they think it's the Hebner twins. That's not the case. You look at the face, it doesn't look like anybody. It's just a generic character. You know, if you like your Terry Funk action figure from LJN, you're going to love this because it's pretty much the same figure. Just, you know, swap out the arms, you know, this side instead of this side type of deal. Very playable, and I've always said, forget using the referee as a referee. You can use him as a referee gimmick, but he would make a fantastic wrestler. Obviously, for me, I'm play pose first, right? And the fighting pose is always the first thing I gravitate towards, no doubt. But this is such a difficult decision because the Jimmy Hart was so well done, and getting Jimmy Hart with a black jacket, Jimmy Hart with an orange jacket. There was one I saw that somebody did an orange or a green jacket on eBay. I've never purchased that one, and I'd like to pick that one up too someday. But Jimmy Hart, he is going to win my first battle. I think this one had to be a no-brainer. I don't know how many rounds 39 figures or 38 figures was going to take me. But hypothetically, let's say it was a 5 or 6 round tournament. I kind of felt like this was a 3rd or 4th round figure at least, if not the winner. So that sucks. The only positive about having so many duplicates, there's 3 opportunities for a referee to win this tournament. So even though the very first matchup you see a referee eliminated, you know, all hope isn't lost essentially. Alright, so we've got Elizabeth in black as she squares off against Freddy in red. Alright, so it's going to feature the Robert Jackson custom of Elizabeth. And we'll start with Freddy Blassie. And I am going to go in and knock out that stupid AOL because every time I do videos, without fail, that stupid video or that stupid sound goes off. So Freddy Blassie, I've talked about it before. Original LJN Freddy Blassie. I kind of felt like he should have been like a top 10 LJN figure based on fighting pose. When I started my first LJN tournament back in March of 2022, I never had LJNs before, so I had no idea of the playability and the feel of the figures. So yeah, I put together a few Royal Rumbles, just kind of, you know, knock the guys around a little bit, try to get a feel for their fun, their usefulness, and their playability. And great grip on Freddy Blassie, fantastic fighting pose, right up there with SD Jones, an amazing figure altogether. And I don't know where I put Freddy Blassie. I think he's got to be somewhere in my top 20. And I haven't made any of those videos in a long time. You know, my top 10 LJNs, my 11 through 20 LJNs, and then I went on to like 21 to 30, but I have never made those videos. This one also comes from Harvey. And I don't really remember anything about Freddy Blassie. I to the best of my knowledge, I've never seen Freddy Blassie in wrestling. At the time of this, you know, the time the original LJN came out, he was probably a 70-year-old man. So, I mean, realistically, when you put him in your matchup, could you use him as like a dominating force? Not really, because, again, 70s. But hey, we've seen Ric Flair do battle at age 70 plus, so, you know, it is a possibility. And just the overall color scheme that they use on this, and with the little glitter and sparkle that you get out of this figure, this looks so amazing. And you know, the blue pants, they don't look like slacks, they look like actual blue jeans, which really helps. Much better color, you know, to the shirt and everything. You know, forget all that yellow and red. This is a gorgeous piece. Now the Robert Jackson Elizabeth. Elizabeth in of herself is a very simple figure. And I've mentioned this with so many different figures where they make the female wrestlers like little dolls. And I hate that. You know, really tiny feet, tiny hands. Their bodies are so slim. You can make them this size and, you know, still have them look, you know, tiny as they are. And, you know, he alternates the color scheme, obviously, creating a white and either, I want to say navy blue. It's either navy blue or maybe a purple, but I think it's a blue color scheme. And trying to get the graphics in there. So he definitely went all out on this figure. He did a fantastic job. Does Elizabeth win my tournament? No. I already know that, you know, she's not going to be a front runner to win the manager tournament. But hey, there was an Elizabeth custom figure that made it 3 rounds in my favorite LJN tournament. So an Elizabeth figure does have the potential to go far. And I think the only reason she was eliminated in that 3rd round is because she went up against Kamala. Because, hello. 2 excellent figures. Again, the way that the leg is kind of curved out, she doesn't really stand well, even when you put her in those LJN stands. Rob did a fantastic job with this. Love his take on Elizabeth. But Freddy Blassie, to me, is an absolute no-brainer. Before I even started this tournament, I was thinking Freddy Blassie was one of those guys who you had to think would be one of the top 5 managers. Not looking at customs, just looking at the original line. So, with that being said, Freddy Blassie original or any of his custom figures, do they have a legitimate chance of winning the tournament? Absolutely. Do they win? That is a different story. But it should not take very long to find out. So, Freddy Blassie defeats Elizabeth. Next matchup is going to feature original Jimmy Hart. Instead of pulling all 3 Jimmy Harts, I'm just going to go with one figure off of the shelf, and that's All Hearts Jimmy Hart. And he squares off against Random Treasures Brother Love. This is an interesting matchup. One, you look at the original figure, and this is a fantastic looking LJN figure. I mean, I give so much credit to a lot of customizers out there because, you know, it's different takes, fresh takes on it. It's unique, you know, color schemes and displays and everything. But you really have to appreciate originality. And this is, like I said, this is fantastic. Jimmy Hart would definitely be a playable figure in my federation as a wrestler. I don't know if I would use him like on one-to-one matchups. I'd probably put him in like Royal Rumbles because Royal Rumbles, I enjoy Royal Rumbles. They're like my favorite. It's the only thing I gravitate towards. The fact that he comes with all hearts, obviously, it just adds extra design to the figure. And gorgeous piece. Obviously, this is a man that I grew up watching as manager of many different tag teams and whatnot. You know, obviously, Hart Foundation, which is, you know, during this time period. Natural Disasters. Nasty Boys were a big one. You know, Honky Tonk Man, Greg Valentine. So, you know, Rhythm and Blues was another fantastic tag team to throw in there. The man was just all over the place. Between the $1 Million Corporation, the Heenan family, and even all of the different members that, you know, who was it? Bruno was another one. Not Bruno. Dino Bravo. Bruno. So, this man had like some of the most elite talent and incredible. Brother Love figure, as you guys already know, he is, as far as Random Treasures exclusives are concerned, I kind of feel like Brother Love is somewhere in the top 5 at best, maybe top 10 at worst among their exclusive figures. So I hold this figure in such high esteem. And, you know, I kind of go on YouTube every now and then, and I watch, you know, Bruce Pritchard podcasts and whatnot. And I love these guys like Jim Ross, Bruce Pritchard, stuff like that, because they have just so much knowledge and, you know, everything that's going on backstage, what's going on in the front office type of deal. And recently heard a story about the One Man Gang. And why his Akeem gimmick didn't last as long as it did. Not because, you know, he wasn't successful or because the fans didn't gravitate towards him, but the man simply didn't want to travel anymore. He wanted to be with his family. And I'm like, you know what? You got to respect the hell out of people that are, you know, giving up a payday, you know, for family time. It took me a long time before I finally made that choice. You know, going on deployment for so many years, but this is a fantastic piece. It's such a simple figure. You know, mostly, I mean, it's like a 95%, you know, white color scheme. But it's just that the red offsets it nicely. The decals on here, you know, mesh in well. And they did such a fantastic job with the darkening of the face, making it a nice plum red, plum purple. I don't know, plums are red too, inside. I could say apple, but no, That's apple is exactly what we don't want the figure to look like. Now, when you bite into a plum, the little redness that you see on the inside, that's kind of what you're looking for. I think it's, for me, it's an obvious answer. Brother Love has to win this matchup. This is, because he's utilizing a Jim Brunzell fighting pose, obviously it's a very fightable or playable action figure. And how can he be one of the best figures from Random Treasures and not move on to the next round? There are still probably a dozen figures in this tournament that could beat him. But you know what? Yeah, absolutely. Brother Love. He's another front runner in my opinion. But how many times have I said so-and-so was a front runner, that was a front runner, and, they get eliminated a round or two later. So, luck of the draw, you just never know how far or how deep these guys are going to go. Brother Love over Jimmy Hart. Next one is going to feature Elizabeth as she does battle against Paul Bearer. So, we saw Elizabeth with black skirt, and this Elizabeth came from Buddy Daly on eBay, Stangergq. And Buddy Daly, he's actually on Facebook as well, because I have him listed my friend on there, and a lot of times when he'll list his stuff on eBay, he'll list them on Facebook as well. So, one of my favorite sellers, awesome collection. You guys think I have an extensive collection? Think about it this way. A ton of what I own, I bought from him. So, go figure. Paul Bearer and the Elizabeth with, the Mega Powers. Had a little brain freeze for a moment. Couldn't remember the name. Mega Powers Elizabeth. And what was it? Mattel Elite. I saw Mattel Elite has a very similar, color scheme with Elizabeth, which is fantastic. This actually is the Elizabeth that made it to round 3 in my favorite LJN tournament. So that's pretty awesome. I mean, color scheme, meshing in with Hulk Hogan, which is fantastic. Also, I kind of like the built-in rose on the side of her shirt. That is absolutely fantastic. Just a very solid and well done figure. Paul Bearer, one of my all-time favorite managers. Obviously, managing one of my all-time favorite characters in The Undertaker. He's got that nice Gomez Addams look to him, which is fantastic. The shininess of the figure really pops. I don't know. I think 99.9% of the population out there would choose Paul Bearer to move forward. I'm having a hard time with this. I might be one of those 0.01% guys who might go with the Liz on this one. So, I was super glad that Ram Treasures came out with Paul Bearer. I was super, thrilled, ecstatic. Decent figure, no doubt. But there are a few things about this figure I don't covet. His face just, I don't know what to say about his face. It's so awkward. It could be fantastic, but it could also be crappy. It's right on the border of either one. So it's so hard to make a decision on this one. The pointer finger, you already know I'm not a big fan of. The hand positioning, I get it, the way that he holds the urn, but you've seen when I did the review of this figure, the urn does not stay in his hand. In fact, the urn popped out of his hand, and I barely even touched this guy on my shelf. So that kind of sucks. They need to do some resizing with the urn or increase the size of his hand or something. This is such a tough one. I'm going to go against 99.9% of the population. I'm going to select Liz. 3 rounds in my last tournament, my favorite LJN tournament. That speaks volumes. Am I strictly choosing her for that reason? No. But that just tells me that this figure has a legitimate chance of going a lot further. For some of the reasons I've described, I just don't think Paul Bearer would be a long... theoretically, he should be a round 5 figure. But there's just so many oddities to this figure that I just can't see him pushing past the Liz. I mean, if he faced 20 other figures, he could potentially move forward, but not this time. So right now we are at 25 minutes. You know what? I'm going to stop at 4 matchups. So the last matchup, which was supposed to feature Mean Gene and the black suited Jimmy Hart. That's going to be the first matchup for the next video. So right now I plan on staying down here and filming at least 2 or 3 videos minimum. So I'm going to have these videos in queue ready to be uploaded. And so Mondays are going to be my real chat, and it's going to feature the upload of my military service. These videos will probably be uploaded either Tuesday or Wednesday. The only reason I say Tuesday, one day later, is because so far my military service videos aren't doing too well. You know, very few people are interested in that, and because I've already made a lot of videos, I'm probably going to keep posting them as necessary, but I don't even know if I'm even going to push forward past those. We'll see what happens in the next couple videos with that, but yeah, I have to finish it off. I just can't stop midway through. So I'll probably post these on like Wednesday, and other pickup videos or collection reviews will be on Friday, and either Saturday or Sunday maybe I'll do like another real chat type of video. So instead of having 2 or 3 videos a week, maybe we'll get 4 videos a week. Is that going to happen every week? Probably not, but in the short term, that's the plan. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I always appreciate your viewership, and until next time, see you guys.